officer, I was required to change my business travel to accommodate this. So the fact that the reporter put in, or the PBA attorney said that I appointed myself as a hearing officer is absolutely incorrect, and I want to go on the record as saying that. I also would like to say, as the Express Times, I've had this conversation with Mr. Foster, that there's been several inaccuracies printed in the newspaper. He knows what they are, and I just want to go on record about that as well. So with that, I guess we have you up.
I have several things this evening. Probably the most important is the Best Practices Worksheet CY 2012. We did one last year with me. This is the new document we have to do in order to prove that we're managing properly, and you need to review the entire document so that Kim can certify to the state that you went over it. I've answered them all. I gave you this about a week ago so you could all look at it. If you want to go through every single line item, okay.
We've done it, we've looked at it.
Okay, as long as you're willing to approve it as it stands, we will receive 100% of our state aid. We scored a 92%. On the ones that there are a couple that we're still working on. One such thing is the pay-to-play ordinance that I spoke to Peter about pretty extensively. We both believed that because there's a state law about this, that the municipalities didn't have to go further. Am I correct, Peter, with doing their own ordinance? But now the state is sort of requiring it by asking us if we have it.
That gets a little complicated.
Yeah.
And some of my municipalities have done it. Basically, you get the PCIA, LGS off their backs. I don't know if you want to get into the discussion of it now, or...
Well, I put that we were discussing it. It's perspective.
Okay.
We may do it in the future. I didn't answer yes because we obviously don't have that.
Okay.
It's pretty self-explanatory. I went through and did as best I could. Like I said, we scored 92%, so we'll be getting 100% of our state aid for fiscal year 2012. Which we don't know what the numbers are yet, but we'll get all of it. So that was the most important thing. I just need you to make a motion to accept it as I've prepared it so that Kim can forward the certification to the state.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Miliani?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Gurneak? Siegel?
I appreciate Grace getting that in advance.
Oh, you're
It
welcome.
makes a world of difference when we all have the information in advance.
It was nice that this year the state did it in a much more friendly format that I
see
could
that.
put it in the computer and send it over to you. Next up, I had asked him to put this in your agenda book. Something happened, we just didn't make it in. But you were handed out this information regarding the tax bills. I'm not going to read the entire thing that I wrote, but I would like to hit on some key points. As the five of you and most of the public are now aware, the township tax bills were delayed this year because of the delay in the certification of state aid by the state of New Jersey.
Yes.
Right. They have to go out by June the 14th. Certification of aid wasn't done until July the 28th. So therefore, our new deputy tax collector, Sharon Brown, had quite a task in front of her. She received the aid figures and the certification on the 29th, I believe, or the 28th, and spent the next entire day working with Edmunds, our software providers, to certify all the numbers, make sure that it matched our tax duplicate. Then she proceeded for the first time to print in-house 2,100 tax bills, and I believe it's 1,200 advice bills. Sharon then spent all day Saturday with some little helpers that we both know well. We came in and we stuffed and sealed all the bills, all the advice bills. We had extra mailers that had to go out, one of which we've seen some response to. We have gotten quite a few new dog licenses. You've all seen that little note that came out. Sharon did a phenomenal job, and what she was able to do with working with Edmunds and getting us automated finally with tax was, in addition to getting all the bills out, getting the advices out to everyone, she was able to now produce an electronic file for one of our largest taxpayers, one of the mortgage companies. In turn, they can now pay us electronically, therefore the turnaround time is terrific, the money's available immediately. She's working with our other two major banks to do this as well. Finally, because we printed our own tax bills, we now have a barcode system on the tax bills, so that when your stub comes in with your check, it's coded with a barcode, just like at the grocery store. We can hit a scanner, Sharon hits the scanner, and it automatically goes to the correct account. It causes a lot less key punch error possibilities, and it's a wonderful time saver for the department. As you're aware, this is the first year the entire tax system has gone automated. I would like to thank Sharon for her hard work and dedication. She handled this with the most incredible professionalism, and she's just such an asset to this community. Your tax system is the best I've seen, and I'm very proud of her and the hard work she does, and she should be very proud of herself.
Thank you, Sharon.
And then do have a couple resolutions, but they're pretty self-explanatory.
Start with the
Do you want to do the-
2011-68. We'll
Okay.
walk on with the,
Yes, this was the
Escrow
resolution for an escrow release for Larkin Associates. They contacted us about 3 weeks ago, requesting that their final balances on their escrows be released. I contacted all the professionals, everyone's been paid, and so we're getting rid of 2 escrow accounts, thank you. 2 less to worry about. So that's what that resolution is for.
Mike, are you sure?
We double checked, yes.
We triple checked, right?
It's been a while, as a matter of fact. With that job.
Are you going to do these on consent, Kim? Should I just go to the next one?
Why don't we vote on them individually?
Okay. That was resolution 68.
68. Motion.
So we need a motion for resolution
I'll make that
2011-68.
motion.
Second.
Secondly, Miliani,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Gurneak.
Yes.
Siegel.
Next up is resolution number 70. This is a chapter 159 resolution.
69.
I'm sorry,
Overpayment.
oh, it says 70 on it.
No, 69 is overpayment of taxes.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not in my section. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. Someone overpaid their bill and we're just refunding the money to them.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Miliani.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Gurneak.
Yes.
Siegel.
Yes.
And then finally, resolution 2011-70 is in my section. It's a chapter 159 resolution. Once again, this year we received a Cops and Shops grant. This is for special details. We received grant funding for the police to do a special detail. This funds 100% of that detail, and we don't know the full amount at the time of adoption of the budget, so we're asked by the state to 159 it. We call it adding it to our municipal budget so that the chief could proceed with the special detail.
Make the motion.
Second.
Dan. Miliani.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Gurneak.
Yes.
Siegel.
Yes.
And then your health benefits.
That's all I have.
That's the health benefit 2011-71.
Your health benefits.
Oh,
What's
I
this?
thought Bruce was. This is the new regulations for the pension and health benefit reform bill that was passed back at the end of July,
Okay.
or middle of July. The state has actually asked each municipality to choose their date of implementation because it was done at a time where they couldn't mandatorily make it, July 1st, because that's normally what they would do, because that's the start of their
Right,
year.
so it was after.
They said we could pick the date, but we could not pick it retroactively.
Okay.
So now that we're picking September 1st, so for the next 3 years is when the following change would, how it's a tiered program?
Yes, mhm.
So every year for the next 3 years on September 1st, we will have a change. That's when our implementation date is. Just so you know, for this year, the big change turned out to be 65 cents for one police officer a year. I mean, a paycheck that we had to change. Otherwise, everybody
we were
else is
already
still
on
1.5.
target,
Yeah, we were already doing what they
Yeah.
were required for this year.
That's good.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, we just need to approve that resolution.
I'll make the motion
I'll
to,
second.
Okay.
And then just one, oh, I'm sorry.
Miliani.
Yes.
Williams.
yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Gurneak.
Yes.
Siegel.
Yes. And then before we leave finance, I just want to make one other comment. I know how people love bad news versus good news, but at the last meeting, the bad news that came out was about the emergency appropriation, but there was good news that wasn't printed in the newspaper, had to do with the bond rating, the AA plus bond rating that this township got for the interest rate for the next 15 years. So that doesn't come with no hard work, and I just wanted to recognize that, and hopefully, Mr. Foster would feel the need to post some good news too. So just wanted to make that point. Okay, so Joe.
Okay, first item is, I'd like to send a
a letter to Mike Boures, who has resigned from the rec committee with regrets. Jim, would you handle that for me?
Did he send a letter into us? Is it in
Send a
here?
letter.
Yes, he sent an email.
He sent
to
an email?
Angie, yeah, but he is resigned.
So accepting his resignation with regrets?
Yeah.
It looks like, I was at the rec meeting last night, and it looks like, it looks, I did it, when I left, they hadn't taken the vote, but it looks like they have a replacement. So. And the second item.
Need a
that-
motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Make a motion to accept the resignation with regrets.
I'll second.
Miliani,
Yes.
Yes.
Williams, Perez,
Yes.
Gurneak,
Yes.
Siegel.
Yes.
I'm going to hold off. There was a little miscommunication. I wasn't able to open up the file that Peter sent me. And before we take this for a reading, I want to talk to the chief about it, so we'll put it off to next week. Is that all right with you?
Well, I already had the chief's
Oh, you did?
feedback, which I incorporated into the revised draft. That's the one you have in front of you, Joe.
Okay. All right.
And there were actually a very few
A couple of minor
changes
changes.
that he made, more by way of clarification.
All right, so then we do.
Yeah, just by way of background, at the present time, your official fire department is composed of the Stewartsville Volunteer Fire Company #1. So that's previously been recognized by ordinance. All this does, this ordinance is kind of flesh out the functions of the various officers, the names and pecking order of the officers and the trustees and so on, the duties of the fire chief, the management of the fire company serving as the fire department of Greenwich Township. So it's really not anything revolutionary. It does make it clear that the chief of Stewartsville Fire Company is the chief, to be considered the chief of the Greenwich Fire Department, wearing two hats.
Shouldn't this say the Greenwich Volunteer Fire Department?
You could, it doesn't really have any legal significance. If you want to call it the Greenwich Volunteer Fire Department, I don't think it says that in the present statute.
Volunteer Fire Department.
Yeah, but
I'm
Well,
not comfortable not.
It's not even called the Greenwich, it's called the
It's the
Stewartsville Fire Department.
Stewartsville Volunteer Fire
It's-
Department.
Yeah.
And if you turn this into the Greenwich Fire Department, there's some connotation to their actions being,
not really. Many municipalities have volunteer fire companies as their fire department.
when
But
he
that's
came
really a
here,
matter
he
of
talked about,
semantics.
when he came here, he talked about himself being the chief. He didn't talk about
That's
line
right.
officers becoming line officers for the,
Well, then I think we should take another month and look at
because
this.
he
yeah.
talked about himself. He never talked about line officers becoming Greenwich officers. He talked only about himself.
Should we follow?
I think
If
that we
the
should
Stewartsville
table it.
company is your fire department
Table it.
and the chief
Yeah.
is your chief, I don't know how you can not have the line officers
Yeah,
be your
I
line
know.
officers. But that's fine, if you want to look it over.
Well, and
that's
on
fine,
page
that's
2, it
fine.
does reference the Stewartsville
Yeah.
Volunteer Fire
Yeah.
Company.
Yes, absolutely. But if you want to take some time and look it over,
Joe, what do you think, Joe?
Let's make it next month.
Thank you.
yeah. I just got the chief's feedback yesterday,
Oh,
so
cool.
that's why it's just coming out. But that's fine.
That's it, I'm done.
All right, Dan?
We have a resolution, 2011-72, concerning fracking. We'd like to get this passed. It's for the environmental, it was brought forth by the Environmental Committee. It's to help protect the watershed area of Delaware River, the people of Greenwich Township. So I'd like to get a motion to get this passed.
This is really to also help those residents who have wells,
Yes.
right, Dan?
Yeah.
The homeowners who have wells, because fracking can impact the well, the homeowners who have the well. So that's a big deal for us.
Correct.
Okay. I'll make a motion to support that.